Hello and welcome back to Subbuteo Tabletop Football. Do not panic. I do appreciate we're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. This is a Subbuteo-based show, unbelievably. Here's a reference 12 Bristol Rovers heavyweight that I brought along just to evidence that. And I'm here to actually talk to you about something I mentioned in one of the last videos. Now, if you recall, last week, was it last week? Yeah, it was last week. It was Subbuteo Fest 22, and as part of that, Subbuteo collector Stuart, he ran a little event called TFI Subbuteo. It was on a Saturday, so I'm not sure what the F stands for. Anyway, moving on. So part of that, he interviewed me, which was very nice of him. It was nice to go along there, and I had a fun old time. Now, part of that interview, he was asking me all sorts of questions. One of the questions was, oh, you do another YouTube channel? Well, I do. It's called Woodland Life, which sort of explains this. But I'm not going to sort of labour on about that too much. If you want to find anything out about Woodlands or whatnot, then go over to Woodland Life and watch that. What I am here to talk about, though, is one of the questions that Stuart asked me. And that was, he asked me about Woodland Life. He says, what do you do when you go down the woods? And I said, all sorts of bits and pieces, really. And then he said to me, you have to excuse the jiggling. He didn't say that, I'm saying that. And then he said to me, could you build a table? Presumably out of timber from the woods. And that sort of took me a bit by surprise, really. But I thought about it. I just answered, probably, I don't know, maybe, yeah. Pretty good with my hands, to be honest. Not a master carpenter or anything like that, but I can do stuff. And then I've been thinking about it all week, and it's been really on my mind, like how you could do that. I mean, I don't have room for another Subbuteo table, so if I built something else, and I have thought about having other tables, it would have to be collapsible. So, the top's got to come off at least, and then have sort of 2 leg sections, maybe 4 independent legs, I don't know. But the point is, I would have to break it down, so that adds new challenges. But after thinking about it all week, I'm determined to give it a go. So that's going to be the next sort of long-term project on Subbuteo Tabletop Football, is that I'm going to utilise timber out of my woodland, drag it back home, cut it up, and try and make some sort of rustic-looking, organic Subbuteo table that I can take apart and set up, and I don't know, see how we go. It might not even work, but I've been thinking about it all week. I just want to give it a go. Now, again, I do appreciate this is a Subbuteo channel, so you probably don't want to hear all the ins and outs about trees and whatnot and what we're doing. But just to clarify, and I've got to say this for my own protection, you can't just go willy-nilly, even if you own the woods, cutting down trees and clearing timber. You need something called a felling license. If you want to know about that, go over to Woodland Life, ask me a question, and I will answer to the best of my knowledge. But in a quick summary, the Forestry Commission get very upset if you start chopping trees down left, right, and centre. All right? Right. So that's bottom line. So we don't need to upset those guys. So I can't just go round this woodland and say, for instance, that ash there, I can't just chop that down because it's a perfectly healthy tree. It's not doing anyone any harm, and quite frankly, it's beautiful. What I can do, though, is I can use standing timber and hanging trees, which are effectively trees that have fallen naturally, and they're becoming a danger, a nuisance. Now, there's a prime example there. That is also an ash, quite a young ash. I'll try and point at it. There's my finger. See that going up there? Now, what's happened there? I'm going to walk down and show you. I promise I won't dwell on woodland stuff too much because, you want to get back to football and Subbuteo. Trying not to fall over in front of the camera. I expect that to be fairly entertaining. So if you get down here, you can see that ash is split at the bottom, and it is now a precarious, what's called a hanging tree. That is effectively, I'm going to turn the camera around actually so you can see it. Can I turn the camera? I don't even know how to work that on my own phone. So we can use stuff like that. That's dead. There's also, for those of you don't really have any experience of woodlands, you don't really need to chop any trees down or fell any trees. Not even if you're using them for wood, if you're using them for furniture or whatever, because they kind of fall down on their own quite a lot. So in the storms at the start of the year, I had a massive great pine that came down at the top of the woods. There's this came down as well. It's a bit hard to get the scale of it, but so that massive great limb came off this tree up here. That's another ash, I think. That ripped off in the storms. So stuff like that, it's basically, you know, dead wood, basically, it's standing wood. That's been down for 6 months. It will have dried out a bit. So I certainly can chop up bits of that and see if we can utilise it. And there is plenty of stuff around here where I can do bits and pieces. I essentially need for this table 4 solid legs, some sort of brace pieces, and then something to build the top base. Now, a little bit of a caveat if we're going to do this. If we're going to put a Subbuteo pitch on there, it's got to be fairly level. So it's going to be quite hard. I don't have any sort of wood milling equipment here, like any plant machinery, anything like that. So it's going to be quite hard to get some sort of level planks to make a playing surface to put a pitch on. So I think we are going to have to concede that playing area bit where we lay the pitch on will have to be perhaps a board of MDF, right? But the rest of it I'm going to source from timber in the woodland. So either hanging off fallen timber or already dead timber, or already seasoned in fact, because it's been around for a bit. So that's it. So that's the next project that's going to be on Subbuteo tabletop football. Make a table, which is kind of exciting, to be honest. I'm sort of looking forward to this. Now, if you're thinking this is going to get done anytime soon, please don't. This is likely to go on for at least a year, because aside from getting the timber, I've then got to debark it. I've got to season it, which means it's got to sit for 6 months in somewhere with a bit of airflow to dry out. Then we've got to work it, which in essence is the quick bit. And then I've got to fit that round, obviously work, other woodland stuff that I do, and of course Subbuteo tabletop football videos. So, you know, it's going to be a bit of a long running thing, but we'll see what it turns out like. I'll show you, I won't show you the ins and outs of all the woodland bit. If you're interested in that, you can go on Woodland Life. But I will show you the stages of where I got so far and how I've worked it out. And I will show you that even if it completely balls up, right? So if it all goes to you and we end up with a big pile of firewood, I'll still let you know. But then at least we tried, innit? If you don't try, you don't get. I've got a sort of image in my mind what it would look like. So it's going to look fairly rustic. I think that'd be quite interesting. And as long as you get a nice smooth playable surface on there, should be good. If we're actually successful in doing it, I might actually treat myself to a bit of a special custom pitch. So I'll have to have a word with a few people, see if we can come up with some sort of appropriate design. Anyway, enough woodland talk. Just wanted to let you know what my next plan is. And next time I speak to you, I will be back in Subbuteo Stadium. Up the gas.